Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Scenic View podcast. I am your host, Jonathan Owens, Communications Director here at Scenic, alongside Ardis Watkins, the Executive Director, Government Relations Director Suzanne Beasley, and podcast producer Sam Cline. Let's get ready for a great episode. So we've tried it a few times here now. We've tried it, like 3 or 4 episodes. We've done the little intro and then the music. Do you guys like that?
I like it.
It's pretty radical of us. But it's working for us.
Oh, man. It's totally out there. So today is Thursday, June 6th. We're in June. Does that mean we're in summer to you guys? Or what do you think of summer?
Look, once it hit 80 degrees.
Well, I mean, it's not technically summer, right? Summer starts, June 21st or something like that?
Really?
That's the summer equinox.
Oh, that's right.
Summer.
Or the summer solstice?
North Carolina summer, to me, starts after Mother's Day.
Yeah.
It starts, that's pretty early.
Yeah,
I say after Memorial Day weekend.
I'm more like Suzanne. Honestly, it's when it starts feeling like summer.
Yeah. Kind of steamy out there today. So we got starting to get a little hot. The pools are open and we're in the studio ready to deliver an awesome podcast. Not a lot going on at the legislature these days, right?
Well, there's a lot going on. It's just not out where we can see it. A lot is going on behind closed doors where conferees are hammering out the details for the budget. We were hearing rumors yesterday that they do plan to wrap the budget up on time this year and
what
be
does
out
that mean,
by the
on time?
Well, so the fiscal year ends on June 30th. So, everything in a perfect world, you would have a budget in place and ready to rock and roll when the new year starts. Doesn't happen often. and it, remains to be seen whether it will truly happen this year. But the goal apparently is still to be finished with the budget by June 30th. So we'll see. I don't have any details of what they're discussing behind closed doors, but you guys know that pay for active state employees and retiree money was in contention. So that automatically goes to the conference committee to be decided upon the final amount. So stay tuned for that. Bills are moving, though, so we have to... we're just attending a lot of committee meetings right now, keeping up with bills, because one of my colleagues yesterday had said, when something goes to the other chamber to be heard, there's always going to be an amendment to it. So we have to watch all the bills that are moving right now just to make sure some language hasn't been added to a bill or that a bill hasn't been gutted and other language put in that wasn't in the original bill. So
it makes me think of that year that a license plate bill, a bill about what kind of different personalized or novelty plates you could do, was amended around the desk back in the days when you could do that last second, and it was going to remove all the State Human Resources Act, all the employment protections of everybody at DOT at that
those
time.
Are similar things. The
Right.
license plate and
then there was one about hairdressing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But that got gutted and something else got put in it. And
didn't the motorcycle bill, that's the famous one that became the HB2 law?
Oh, that's true. That happened.
Yeah.
So, you never know at this time of year what
You
to
have
expect.
to watch everything that's moving.
So even if it sounds like nothing's going on, our lobbyists are down there watching everything.
We are.
Right?
And from what we hear, the House and Senate are still in their own corners about the tax package. So depending whose tax philosophy you go with, that completely changes what there is to spend. So until they work that out, I don't know how they may or may not. They may not get to a budget at all, much less the end of June.
Yeah, won't be the first time, that they've put everything down and gone home for a while and come back. So we'll see. Stay tuned. We'll keep you posted.
But we have reached out again to leadership to let them know that state employees and retirees were not treated well in either budget. That and those positions.
Yeah.
Just cutting vacant positions is very dangerous, and it leaves the public without a lot of services they would want if they knew they were getting ready to lose them. But also, those jobs aren't vacant because we don't need them. They're vacant because we cannot fill them because we're not paying enough. So we're just creating a bigger mess.
Yeah, that's the bottom line. Pay.
Yeah, I want to revisit something from I guess it was 2 weeks ago, and we're going to talk about last week's episode in a second. But I was listening back to our episode 2 weeks ago after the House budget came out, and we were talking about the Democrats supporting the House budget. And it occurred to me, and I think you brought this up in the episode, but that budget does fund the opportunity scholarships, right?
Yes.
Fully. And it's amazing that it was a huge fight last time over that.
Right.
And they supported it this time.
Right. Again, the strategy makes no sense to me in so much as I get what they're saying. Hey, the Senate wants to remove even more taxes, which means even less money in the next few years out. I don't disagree. That's exactly what happens. Revenue not coming in means you have to make worse cuts as time goes on. I get that part. But spending, you have to also look at your spending, not just making sure revenue's coming in, but now you're rubber stamping the spending. I don't know why you wouldn't have just drawn a line overall, because I don't see how you win if you keep with that. And by the way, it was just today it was reported that the State Board of Education meeting staff from DPI said, hey, look, I think it's only 8% of those opportunity scholarships in the first year were people moving from public to private. The rest of them were people who were already in private, staying in private, but now subsidized by the taxpayers, no matter what their income.
And I know a private school that requires you to apply for that scholarship. I'm sure a lot of them do. And I also know private schools that have increased their tuition already.
I remember you saying that one where you live increased it by exactly the amount.
So, I mean, but maybe that's a different topic for a different day. But
is it though? Because if we're talking about taxpayer money and whether taxpayers are getting what they're paying for or getting ripped off, how is that incentive, to give people parental choice for where their kids go to school if those schools just do what the market always does and go ahead and mark it up? It still stays out of reach for your average person.
It just seems so out of character or out of, I don't know what the word is, but how can you call for so many cuts to jobs and things and then support this huge expenditure?
Right. Because for the reason anybody supports any legislation, on balance, they felt it hit enough of their priorities as a caucus. Now, again, that's where groups like Scenic took issue with that, because it doesn't, in terms of what you've articulated your positions as a caucus to be in so many cases. But you said, well, it's the less offensive of the two, so we're going to vote with it.
Yeah, I wonder also cutting vacant jobs. Like, there's no one to fight for those vacant jobs because nobody's in those jobs,
Nobody is willing to fight so far in a meaningful way on any legislation, much less the budget, affecting state employees. That's how this session has gone.
Either side, right?
Either side. They are not, state employees and retirees have not been the priority for lawmakers. And that's something that state employees have to look at. And I think Scenic's, we have a political action committee, and our political action committee has been very clear for many years. They are not driven by party at all. They look at every legislator individually for exactly that reason, because you do have some that will absolutely go out there and fight for state employees and retirees. And we know who they are, and we are very thankful for them, and we make sure our members hear what they're doing for them. But you have to take every person as a person down there, because you just really can't pigeonhole people the way some people would like for us to. I know, John, you said on our social media, we'll have people saying, y'all are just a bunch of liberals, or y'all are a bunch of rabid Republicans. People can't make up their mind what we are, and that's exactly what we are. Yes, all of the above.
I think we mirror our membership. Obviously, we're a member organization.
We have members of every political persuasion there is. And at the end of the day, the reason they come together to be in this association is so that we can push state employee and retiree issues. We're not here to talk about a bunch of other issues that might be really sexy topics.
That's right.
But we're here to make state employee and retiree issues the sexy topics. We're sexy. You can quote me.
You said,
don't even know what to do with that, do you, John? That made you giggle too hard, John.
We all just kind of looked at each other.
Okay. Moving right along. So let's talk about the old Gen Z podcast. That was a really good episode.
Yay,
Great
Gen
job.
Z. And millennial, I think. I think Adam said he's a millennial, maybe.
Oh,
he is the first year of Gen Z's last year millennial.
You already lost me.
So he's a baby millennial.
So I'm 1981. What am I? I was born in 1981.
I think that's a millennial.
Okay.
It might be a Gen X. It's probably a cusp.
Okay.
Suzanne and I are
Are y'all baby boomers?
So there's a
I almost
generation
said something we can't say.
I was born in 64, and there's a generation between 64 and Gen X. So it's called the Jones generation.
Like Jim Jones, the guy.
Well, I don't think like Jim Jones,
Well, yeah,
but
no,
like his name,
let's not go with
Jones. It's
that.
called the Jones generation that we
Yeah,
are a part of. And there's just
Probably with you. I'm 66.
Yeah.
So.
You aren't 6, are you?
she was born
No, I
in
was.
66.
Oh,
You know what, John?
Yeah.
Honestly,
I was like, you're not
Look, we
66.
both did that. I'm like, what the,
oh
what the
my
heck's
gosh.
wrong?
First, he laughs at me saying we're sexy, and now he's anyway.
Okay, boomer.
66. So yeah, I
Yeah,
think we're in the.
boomer.
I think
My
we're in that
parents are
same.
1966 babies.
Oh, me and Sammy's parents. But anyway, y'all,
Yeah,
we digress as usual.
Yeah.
So far.
Y'all really did an amazing job.
Thank you.
And more importantly, I think everybody learned a lot. But I really was hoping some politicians would listen to that because
Yeah.
if I were a politician, some of that was fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Well,
It
it's
was,
important to
Y'all are
to
very
this generation
centrist.
coming up.
Your
Y'all are-
generation is very, y'all don't tend to stake out these,
Yeah.
Extremes.
extreme political positions. Y'all are kind of like, you're taking it issue by issue and show me what you got, you know?
Yeah. I was never a fan of politics growing up because I did see so much surrounding it with just stress. It wasn't even necessarily arguments amongst the parties at that time. It was more just I saw how stressed my parents were, especially during the 2008 stock market crash.
Yeah.
And just seeing the stress surrounding them that I was like, I don't want to talk about politics. I don't like politics. And as I grew up with very supportive parents who were like, be what you are, support what you support. We're not going to tell you what to support. Do your own research
Yeah.
Yeah.
and figure out what will work best for you and your generation and the future.
Well,
It was clear that whole group that was on the podcast that you guys are well informed and have your own thoughts and opinions.
Yeah.
yeah. And I guess I came of age of intellectually maybe in the 90s when I was in high school and in college. And there wasn't a lot going on in the 90s. I mean, like it wasn't so much turmoil until
Yeah,
we
life
got
was
to
different.
2001 and the whole world changed. And,
it was. We didn't go through the things
yeah.
that Z and the younger millennials have gone through. I mean, we didn't. It was just a different world, but it does make me wonder, especially in terms of public employees and whether people would be drawn to public service or almost repelled by it, because we always had stereotypes around public service that we heard. And, it's just a bunch of people leaning on shovels. That's state employees. Stuff like that was really derogatory and that could keep some really talented people away sometimes. Usually not. Usually people knew that's just a bunch of stereotyping. But I wonder, with your generation, they're seeing public employees absolutely trashed in the public. I mean, just the idea of being a government employee is like you're stealing from the government.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that some of the things Allie was saying and some of the things Adam was saying showed pride in being a public employee. I thought that our values came across in that podcast.
Allie, for one, is very proud of what she does. She knows that some things that she does as a probation and parole officer are going to be hard for individuals. They're going to be hard for families to hear. But she knows that what she is doing is making a difference and it's keeping people safe.
Well, Allie, we're so proud to have you as a Scenic member and leader. And we're really thankful to have you protecting us as North Carolinians. People like Allie are the future of this state and of public employment and people who want to keep other people safe and make our communities safer. So we have to figure out ways to bring more people like Allie into state government. And
And
just was,
Scenic.
and to Scenic,
Mhm.
for sure. I was just talking with Stacy Meyer, the director of the Office of State Human Resources, who's trying so hard to bring the OSHR as the HR arm of state government into the modern world, because so much of it has been stuck policy-wise in the 60s. And she's trying to streamline that and make hiring easier and make policies make sense. And part of what she expressed as a hope is that we can attract more of these really bright young people into serving the public. And I really hope she's successful with that. And I told her we're trying the same thing here at Scenic. We want more young people involved in Scenic because the rest of us can only tell you how it was.
Yeah, and
But-
they're going to have to
Right.
eventually.
We're not going to have to live with the results of.
That's right. And I feel like younger people too. I mean, I've got millennial kids, so that they're service minded. They truly want to do things that help other people. in whatever profession that they're
But
in.
they do see government. I mean, they've seen such bad things from
Yeah.
government.
And I want to give a little shout out to Adam Weinberger.
Weinbarger, yeah.
He's really come into his own as a scenic rep. I think he's the Western region rep out in the mountains, and I'm sure he's had to grow up a lot in the last year with the whole hurricane by scenic standards. Adam, I'm not calling you a child. Or
Oh, but yeah, he had all of those affected counties.
Yeah, he was thrown to the
region.
So
he did go above and beyond during that. So thank you for that, Adam.
But I sat in on his interview when he was trying to get the job, the interview process, and hearing him now on the podcast and the way he speaks about scenic, it's just a huge, he's really...
Yeah, he believes in the mission.
He might have your job one day, Ardis.
Listen, I think all of those young people are really bright that were on that. See, you're old when you say young people. It's true. It's a thing. It happens when you start saying young people you've made. But I think all of those young people who were on that Gen Z podcast, really, they can run anything they want to. They just got to keep informed and keep doing what they're doing. I am always encouraged. Anytime I would go on campus, anywhere that any of my children were going to school, and I just even see people on a college campus walking around or people at a young person event. I just see the way they carry themselves sometimes and say out loud to myself in the car, we're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The future really is bright. And sometimes I think people get to our age and they say, oh, these young people don't know anything. That's such hogwash.
It is.
You can't fool them either.
Mm-mm.
That's why I think politicians would be fascinated by listening to y'all. It's very hard to dupe y'all in mass.
Yeah, we grew up in the age of the internet, and we constantly had things thrown in our face that were fake. So from a very young age, we had to figure out and learn for ourselves the difference between what was real and where we were being lied to, and figure out where the deceit was.
That'll serve y'all well.
I think it's helped us grow up a lot.
Probably gave y'all anxiety, but
yes,
all of us.
A lot of it.
Yeah. Not to leave anyone out, but Don Travis did a great job, and Tiana as well. So the future is bright here at Scenic.
Yeah, we're lucky. We got plenty of people to take my job.
I think a big thing with attracting more of the millennials and Gen Zs to public service is breaking that stigma, which if there's any Gen Zs or millennials who are members or who are public service workers who would love to come and talk about that on the podcast, we would love to have you. Yeah. We would love to hear what your experience has been as a state employee.
So where do they contact you?
They can contact us at the podcast email, which is podcast@scenic.org.
Pretty easy. And yeah, we can do one of those episodes every week if y'all want to. We'll just sit back.
New Gen Z every week.
It was good.
I think we do have to do more than one a year without question. I mean, we've done 2 in 13 or 14 months or something like that. So we definitely have to pick that up because I think there's a lot y'all have to say that everybody wants to hear.
So a question just came to my mind because it seemed like in my generation, making money was a huge deal, right? Like we want to get rich. So everything you did, you want to get rich. I don't see that as much with my kids, especially my 12-year-old. Is that a thing? Like, I mean, I'm sure you're older than her, but like, do the younger folks, are they not as obsessed with money, or do you think it's just...
I think it partially has to do with the way the economy has been when we were first entering adulthood, and we kind of saw it as, well, we're never going to be able to afford a house anyways one day, so why do we need to care so much about making the money when we could be passionate about what we do?
And I think Gen Z, I see, and older millennials, I don't think they're looking to get rich, but they're struggling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are. Yeah.
We're just trying to make ends meet, is what it feels like, rather than I don't need to be rich. I just need to survive and make
have a
ends
decent
meet.
life. Yeah.
That's sad though, because we were just hard sold the American dream, and
I mean, we were the generations that were raised on, greed is good.
Yeah.
The famous line from Wall Street, the movie.
Greed is good, but having a stable life and making a difference is
better,
just as good. Yeah. So consider a life in public service, young folks. So what else do we want to talk about?
Well, just as a final note on that, I saw somebody from the administration, not here, but in D.C., doing an interview on television talking about bureaucrats. I think sometimes when people do get into public service and they've come there from outside, they forget you are literally a bureaucrat.
Yeah.
Like you are government.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hopeful that people will understand you can shift those gears from business to government and back. But when you're in government, you're part of the government.
Yeah.
That's bizarre to me, this whole concept of,
You are the government. Like you make the decisions as a,
Yeah, so that's the General Assembly sometimes think that too. Like we all think that there's somebody from outside government that can come in and tell government how to do better. But then people get in government and they realize, oh my goodness, this is much more complex because I can't run it like my business.
That's right. That's right. Because it's not a business.
Well, yeah, and you can't just set your price. You can't just decide if you care or not if somebody wants to be your customer. Everybody is your customer and you have to make all of them happy. It's really, really a tough business. So hats off to any of you who are running anything at the local, state, federal level. It's hard.
So one topic I did forget to talk about, and we need to go back and talk about, is one bill did pass. Was it this week? The Investment Authority bill?
So that was Treasurer Briner was not a fan of the sole fiduciary setup of the retirement system here and the investments for the whole state. So his Investment Modernization Act bill would set up a board that makes the decisions regarding investments of the state, which obviously include all the retirement systems. We were one of 3 states that still had a sole fiduciary. And
say what that is. People may not have heard
one
that.
person in charge.
Yep.
One person in charge.
So the
bottom
treasurer.
line. Yeah. So now there will be this investment authority made up of 5 individuals who will have to apply for the job. They have to have specific credentials to do the work of investing. But Treasurer Briner thought it was better to have more heads in the game than just one making those decisions.
So I can see pros and cons to that. Like, so if you have one person in charge and that person is elected, then that person is beholden to the voters, right? Whereas if you set up a board, those people aren't facing reelection.
Right. No, that's true. It can go either way. Yeah, we used to hate having a sole fiduciary.
We did. We went through a lot of discussion and action and, trying to change that years ago.
Yeah, and then people who were more experienced in that game than we were said, kind of what you're saying, John, but do you understand if you get rid of that, but you don't fix the governance?
Yeah.
The fact that you can't see the contracts, the transparency that we still want. If you still don't get that transparency where you can see the contracts they're negotiating, you've just now got exactly what John said. People who don't have to be accountable to voters who can make these secret decisions that none of us ever know. So I can see both sides of it, having been on both sides of that philosophically as an organization.
And I see the flip side, obviously, is 5 heads may be better than one, that you get better decisions.
Well, we are very
cautious.
Hopeful that's what's going to happen.
So I think we've talked about this before, but that board will not have a state employee or retiree representative, correct?
Yeah. I mean, it'll be investment professionals. So,
yeah,
not just a rank and file person to...
The previous board had a slot for somebody who could give the input of someone who is using that system and worked their whole career putting into that system. And this will be different. But the argument in this case that I understand that Treasurer Briner's making is that, look, we need a smaller group and have it be people who that's all they've ever done. That's what they know is investments. And he knows that to have this plan be sustainable long term, they're going to have to make a whole lot of money. So
we're hopeful that Treasurer Briner is successful in that.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, he's still treasurer. So whatever the board chooses, if that works out for him, as you would think politically. So I'm sure he's going to try to make sure they make the right call.
Well, they got a big pot of money to work with, right? Was it 17th largest
in the world?
A
public.
Or maybe even higher than that. I'm not sure.
It was, last time I heard, it was 16th, I think. And so 17th would sound reasonable.
120-some billion dollars.
126 billion, I think.
Wow.
So
in that neighborhood.
I can handle
more than 4 times the size of the state.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. So that's why, however it's invested, when it's 4 times the amount of the entire state budget, we would love to see how that's being invested.
Yeah.
And you should too. You should want to see that too.
But that's also a fourth of what Elon Musk has.
Oh, wow. Goodness. Yeah,
That's
an perspective.
mind-blowing, huh?
I saw something the other day, thinking of that said if you took 99% of Bill Gates' money away, he would still have $1.2 billion.
What?
Wow.
99% of his money
conceptualize,
gone,
I can't
and he still has that much money.
Well,
He said that in an interview because they were like, "Oh, you'd still be like tons of billions," and he's like, "No, I would have 1.2 billion."
That's all.
Goodness.
Just a smidge.
Well, that's depressing.
Small. Yeah,
I mean, how would he survive on that?
I know.
1.2. Anyway, we're really digressing.
The
now.
podcast puffin does not like that.
Oh, what did we name him? Petey Pablo. The
Yeah.
podcast
Petey Pablo,
puff-
the podcast puffin.
Oh, I wish he could squeeze it in. He'd say North Carolina raise
Raise
up.
up.
We might be able to custom.
You can get custom buttons. We could get one of those at Build-A-Bear.
Okay,
Oh.
Sammy, you're on it.
Anyway,
I took my granddaughter to build a bear. She was horrified, but that's a whole other.
all right. Are you ready for the question of the week?
Yeah.
Ready?
John's wacky weird question of the week.
So, in honor of our podcast producer's travels the last few weeks, Sam has been camping for the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
What do you
She
guys
was
think?
camping the last 2 weeks.
Wait,
Last 2
two-
weekends,
weekends.
I
Two
went
Oh,
weekends.
weekends. I'm like, what are you talking?
What do y'all think about camping? And
So,
and where is your favorite camping spot if you have one?
been there, done that.
Okay.
But we had a lot of fun camping. I think there was a campground in, what's that little town right beside Cherokee?
Bryson City,
Martin-
Sparta.
No, anyway, Cherokee area. There was
Okay.
a campground there that we were motorcyclists, so spent a lot of time in the mountains. But that was such a neat campground, and the spot we liked the best was at the top of a hill.
Mhm.
Because we were. it was a
Now, are
little
you
more
talking
isolated
about
up
camper camping or
there.
tent
So no,
camping?
so our camping, it wasn't a tent, but the truck had one of those covers. What do you call it? Tuna cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tonneau cover.
Tonneau cover. So I had one of those. So
Tuna
you opened
cover.
it up, tuna. So when you opened it up, you could drape the mosquito netting over it, and we had a foam mattress that fit in the back of the truck. Yeah, I mean, we were very comfortable.
Huh.
We had a fan that you could plug in. They had electricity there, so we were never uncomfortable. It was always a good sleep.
Very cool.
The thing about camping, though, is the bathroom situation. If
Yeah.
there's not one, I'm not camping there.
Tell us about your camping experiences.
So I've been going camping since I was really little. When I was going camping with my family growing up, we would go horseback riding camping. So we would take the horse trailer up there, and there was a living quarters in the horse trailer. So my parents would sleep in the bed in there, and we would clean out the back area, like sanitize
Oh.
everything. And they would set up 2 cots for me and my brother. We had a fan back there.
Okay,
And
you
we
didn't
would
have to
sleep-
sleep on the floor.
No. No, my dad would hook up a hose and we would spray, scrub, sanitize that down before we slept back there.
Oh.
Very
But
cool.
the past few weekends, we've been tent camping.
some
Memorial
of
Day
our-
weekend, we went to Cliffs of the Noose State Park,
Okay.
and we went kayaking and paddleboarding on the Noose River.
Very cool.
Shout out to our state park members.
Yes.
Yes. And then last weekend, it was a girls' camping weekend, and we went up to Uwharrie National Forest and
Beautiful.
stayed on Baden Lake,
Yeah.
which Uwharrie is one of my favorite places to go camping. It was so much fun. We had a great time. We took a little hike to the lake. My dog got in water for the first time voluntarily. It was great. And we just had some really good food and
Good, clean fun.
Yeah.
So the last time I went camping was at Uwharrie, and that was like 15 years ago. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan.
There's a lot of
I
discomfort.
like TV and, but what about you, Ardis? Do you have camp stories or?
Yeah.
Yes. Noah did Boy Scouts for so many years. So
Oh,
many camp stories, my favorite. It's favorite in a weird way because it was you talk about discomfort, but we did canoe camping at Merchant's Mill Pond with the Scouts.
oh, cool.
And, there's alligators all over the place. Oh, yeah. Snakes
Wow.
everywhere. It's a swamp.
yeah.
Merchant's Mill Pond up in Gates County.
Oh, my God.
And yeah, that was a unique experience. So you canoe over, take all your stuff, set up your little
Oh, it's
primitive
a
camp.
canoe in
Yeah,
spot.
thanks.
Those are
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah. We were in a canoe at the back of the line, and I just hear all these 12-year-old boys up ahead saying, cool. And I knew something awful. Whatever they think is so cool.
It's an alligator
maybe
with
they
a body.
were 13 or 14. It was a massive alligator.
Oh.
They're usually so chill. That alligator had no interest in us, but I did not like being at its level. So it's a memorable camping trip. Merchants Mill Pond. Again, thank you, State Park.
Is that a state park?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, it seems like camping would be an affordable family outing, right? You don't have to pay for it. Do you have to pay at state park?
Yeah, usually.
Okay.
For site.
Okay.
Yeah, there are reservable sites, but there are also like non-reserved. Where we were staying this past weekend, there was 2 spots that were first come, first serve, but we reserved a spot because we wanted full shade.
So shout out to our state parks again. And speaking of affordable family outings, we do have our theme park tickets still available. We got Busch Gardens. I'm excited to go to Dollywood. I need to get to Dollywood.
Everybody says Dollywood's great.
The last time I went, all I remember, I was like 8 or 9, and my brother put a penny on the railroad and it smashed it. Like, it made it like this big or something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Y'all would have thought that was very cool.
All I remember. And he got in trouble, too, for something.
So it was a great trip for you.
Yeah. But apparently it's like much bigger now.
I haven't gone since I was really little and
only
I
heard
lived in
good things.
Tennessee.
So Dollywood's
and
cool.
Tweetsy. We've got Tweetsy.
Oh, so many good memories. Ghost Town in the Sky.
And, like Busch Gardens is not very far.
It's not. You don't think about it, but it's not far.
Yeah. And then Dollywood for our folks in the West. Go out there.
Boop, boop.
Exciting. Well, that was a great episode. A little long, but maybe you'll... No? Not long?
Mm-mm.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks for joining us again. Have a great week.